What's up, Sixers Nation? Back again with another video. I know it's been a little bit, but wanted to do a video on state of the Sixers, kind of like a state of the union. Uh, Looking very good, and we'll go through a lot of things here in this video. We'll go through the schedule, previous games, kind of laying out kind of the rest for the rest of the season. We'll go through the big three, which has played some games recently and hasn't looked too good. We'll get into that. We'll go through the NBA standings. We'll talk about Bede and PG. We're going through some lingering issues. Should they be shut down? What should happen there? Should they tank? Should they not tank? All that stuff and more throughout this video. Appreciate all the support that we've gotten so far here. If you like our content, hit that like and subscribe button below. As always, we're giving away $25 for every 100 subs. I think we're at like 460 or so right now. So almost at 500. We'll do another giveaway there too. But let's get right into it here. Talk about the Sixers schedule and everything here. Just had a disappointing loss last night to the Boston Celtics. Good team, nonetheless, but lost by 20. The Boston Celtics caps off. They're currently on a 6-game losing streak, which is not good. You look through some of these last games here. I know they had about a week off for the All-Star break and everything like that. So you can understand a little bit of like, okay, getting back into the groove of things and all that kind of stuff. And it's a good Boston team, but like this is not anything new. You lost at Brooklyn, which Brooklyn is like actively tanking, which may help them later on in the season if they do want to tank. May help them out. Lost to Toronto, another team tanking as well. They lost at Milwaukee. I remember in this game.
No Giannis.
No Giannis in this game. At Detroit, no Cade Cunningham in this game. Miami, no Jimmy Butler in this game. So not only have they lost to some pretty bad teams, I mean, I know Detroit's having a solid season. Milwaukee's solid. Miami's not a pushover or anything like that. But these are all teams that are beatable outside of Boston, for example. But outside of Boston, all these teams are very beatable, and they've had their guys back. That's been the biggest question mark this season, or like maybe just like kind of phrase a different way. The biggest hope is like, oh yes, they've been bad, but they've been banged up and they haven't had their full squad.
Yeah.
But in a lot of these games, they've had their full squad. Embiid's played in 5 or so games since coming back here. Paul George has been healthy. Maxi's been healthy. They've had their full roster. I know around this time was the trade deadline and all that kind of stuff. So there's some moving pieces.
Yeah.
But overall, not a good showing from the Sixers last few games here.
Yeah, I mean they're top tier guys, the stars that we consider to be stars in this league, or if not superstars in Joel Embiid at least. And Maxi's played like one, I think, throughout this season. He's been the most consistent Sixer, but there's been zero chemistry. It's hard to build when your guys just don't play as consistent as other teams do. You look at it, I don't know what the Boston Celtics starting 5 plays, the amount of games, but it's majority. I can guarantee it's more than the Sixers and what they've done. But yes, even when they're on the court, they have struggled mightily together. There's no chemistry. In terms of scoring, it actually has not been totally abysmal. 104 points is not really going to cut it in this NBA in this era, of how scoring is, just the way that, especially the Celtics, the team played last night, the way they shoot threes. Our defense has been atrocious. Yeah. We give up open three after open three after open three.
In this game, they put up 127. But you win 90% of this, 95% of it.
And their second best offensive player was like, I don't even know, Pat Connaughton? I have no idea. But it was Dame and everyone else. And Bobby Portis probably. That's the issue with this Sixers team, is that the defense has been atrocious all year long. It's been a struggle. And then on top of that, there's no rhythm. The Sixers take about 20 seconds to get into their offensive sets when Joel Embiid's on the court. And then he has about 4 seconds to create a shot. That's how the Sixers play. There's no pace, there's no urgency, and there's no, really, in terms of the young legs out there, it's basically Maxey. Yes, they acquired Grimes, the deadline of Butler, some younger guys to just have some youth on there and really move the ball and push the pace. But still, it has been a struggle, and, Paul George has not been the guy that we really expected. He's kind of just been an average role player this year at best, and that's not going to cut it. It's just not.
Paul George, high man of the game with 17 points.
Yeah.
In Boston's game. Grimes actually had a really good game against Brooklyn, dropped 30 in that contest. But it's just really frustrating, right? It's always gone back to the injuries, and it's understandable. But at the same time, like we just mentioned, a lot of these other teams are also dealing with injuries. The Sixers are not the only team that have dealt with injuries throughout this entire year. My head goes to the Magic, Wagner, and Paul. Banchero missed a lot of games for them. NBA is one of those, just like some other professional leagues, where like a lot of the star players do miss a lot of games, and those teams are finding a way to win. And the Sixers have not been able to do it. They finally get their big three back, and they've had it again. a few games here they've strung in a row where they've had their big three out there, and they've come up short. I think it's not a good look for everyone in the organization. The last few weeks has been a lot of conversation around firing Daryl Morey, firing Nick Nurse. The players are playing bad. I think it is all of that, right? I think there's certainly a conversation to be had that they could move on from Nick Nurse, they can move on from Morey, and yes, it's not always just on the front office and the coaching, right? But it's a lot easier to move off of them than it is to move off of these big contracts, right? You're not moving off of Nate's contract or Paul George's contract or Maxey. The decisions were made. I don't think it was a bad decision at the time to go after a Paul George, for example. And this could be a whole entire video in and of itself, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. Where at the time, now it looks bad, right? Now it looks bad. But at the time, it made perfect sense, right? I mean, for so many years, the Sixers Paul George has kind of been a name thrown out there because he is that kind of perfect 3-and-D guy, right? He can spread the floor, he can shot create, he plays good defense. He's a wing, which these are pivotal positions in the NBA, string alongside of a Joel Embiid, which is perfect, right? Because they've had bad spacing before, Ben Simmons and Al Horford and some of the other guys that have come through, the organization the last few years. You're like, oh, we need a guy like Paul George. So I don't blame Daryl Morey for going after him. It's just been unfortunately a big disaster in terms of he's missed a lot of games, and the games he's played in, he hasn't looked very good.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is it's right on paper. They have the names there. The problem is the game is not played on paper, right? That's the main issue here. And on top of it, I think we'll talk about it. Should they tank? Should they not? We'll get into that. But it's, in a way, it feels, starting every loss that adds up at this point, you could almost say it's a wash season. It really just is. And the snowball effect is real.
But that was supposed to be last season, right? The last season was, hey, not that they were actively tanking or anything like that, but it's okay, it's fine. We can, it's fine. We got in the first round, all this kind of stuff, because we have this max slot available and we have all this money going into the summer. Again, I don't blame them. I wanted them to get Paul George. I would say most fans did at the time. Because what, are you really going to create a great team by getting fringe role players, stuff like that, KCPs of the world and some of these other guys? Great, but you're not winning, I don't think you're winning a championship with that kind of stuff. So, but this guy, we get this from Clutch Points on Twitter. This was actually before last night's game against the Celtics. So it's a 7-6 record. They're actually 7-7 now. So they're 500 with the big three together. I know 14 is still a small sample size in the grand scheme of things, but that's still not nothing, right? 7-13. So they're 6 games above 100 with 2 of the 3 play together. I know a lot of that is without Joel Embiid. It's mostly Paul George and Maxey. And then when one of them plays 6-13, 0-2, when none of them plays, all these records not looking very good at all here. So again, it's the big three. They've played 14 games now together with the loss last night to the Celtics, and it's just that was always the last hope was okay, they just got to get healthy and they can make a run here, and they can slip into the play-in and do all this kind of stuff and maybe win a round or two or make a playoff run, right? It's you never know what's gonna happen in the playoffs, right? You get hot, all that kind of stuff. But every time they play together, even with the big three, it's almost it looks worse and worse, right? It's almost they're not progressing, they're not improving, they're not building that chemistry. They just look lackadaisical. They look checked out. Even Maxey looks checked out. This is a guy he's always got a smile on his face, always having fun, big vibes guy.
Yep.
And he almost looks like he doesn't enjoy playing basketball right now. Nobody looks like they want to be out there. Certainly, I put a lot of that on Nick Nurse. That's again, that goes back to coaching, culture, all that kind of stuff, harnessing those big talents. But it's a group effort. It comes down to players, front office, coach, you name it. And it's just been overall just a complete disaster.
Yeah, I mean, still their highest win percentage is with the big three. That's not defending and saying it's great,
500
right?
Team, 500 team,
right. But if their record was 500, we'd be talking about them. It's slightly different. Still extremely disappointing. They should be better. The expectations, which we'll go into. I think everyone was going into the season thinking, hey, this was going to be a successful season. But you used a good phrase there. They do look checked out, right? And that's a real thing in sports. I mentioned it, the snowball effect is real. It starts to kind of add up. I mean, here you go, going back to September. It's not that long ago.
September 30th.
I mean, we're talking, 4 or 5 months ago? It's not that long. And to think where this team had the potential to go, right? A quality big three. Everyone at the time seemed to be pretty much healthy, ready to go. And B was coming off the Olympics, which he played pretty well in, especially in the gold medal game. I mean, you have a trio, which, yes, on paper, right there is a perfect fit. Point guard, small forward, you got the big, all talented at their own positions. To go into the season and then see this product, which has been the worst product that we've seen since before Embiid was, playing in a Sixers uniform. I mean, honestly, since the process. So,
it's like process basketball.
Right, to go from, hey, we're going to be, look at the comments here.
League should be terrified.
And we were all thinking the same thing. League should be terrified, right? This is an absolute, well.
Yeah, you got your second round exit stuff. That's classic.
Yeah. Hey, we'd be honored to make it the second round this season. Seriously, that's the sad part. All this for a second round exit. Let's make the second round and be proud with the way this team is playing to the finals. I mean, here comes the ring. Like, there's that type of, aspirations and what we can go for with this team. And I think even the surrounding role players, like, hey, not to say that we thought, Lowry or Reggie Jackson or some of those older guys were going to totally, propel this team. But we thought, okay, Lowry would be solid, right? A guy, a veteran, you bring on the bench and could provide you 10, 15 minutes a night, just be average. He's been horrible. The role players, besides Yabusele, who was the only diamond in the rough, the surrounding piece have been bad.
The role players of the bench have been bad, but let's not act like the Sixers bench. Two things. One, let's not act like the Sixers bench the last few years when they have been successful in the regular season and made the playoffs and everything like that, have been studs. And second of all, you don't win championships with a bench. You're like, oh man, that team back in 2005, oh my God, they had a stud bench. That's why they won. Okay.
Yeah. No, it
comes down to the stars. You got 5 guys on the court at one time. It comes down to the stars. They're the ones that play 40 minutes a night in the playoffs. So it's a team effort. It comes down to everything. The bench certainly isn't helping them. I agree with that. But it's just a absolute just breakdown over all the teams. So I mean, let's take a look at the NBA standings here for the Sixers, which actually is kind of funny because it's like, as bad as they've been, they're still technically. Oh, sorry, this is their schedule.
It's so bad we had to see it twice. That's
you see a lot of L's there. See a lot of red. So here we go. Actually, here we go. Right here.
There it is.
Regular season. You got the Cavs 45-10. Jeez.
All that for a first round exit.
Sixers, as bad as it's been, only a game and a half behind the Bulls. Again, they've lost 6 straight now. A lot of that has to do with the Bulls being 3-7 in the last 10. Sixers 2-8 in their last 10 here. They are right neck and neck with the Nets. The Nets have called up their 6-4 in their last 10. Wizards with like only 9 wins. So the Nets actually, I think technically, not in the standings, but in like the lottery or like that, are technically higher than them. So it's a weird situation. I've flip-flopped a few times throughout the season because, again, it just kind of depends on what the scenario is and what's happening with the season or like that. When we first made a video kind of outlook on this, I was for the tank, and then they strung some games together. And then I was for making the play, and hey, they can make a run, yada yada yada. But now I'm back down to, I think they may want to shut it down again. They've had their big 3. They've had a full roster these last 3 games, and it's not like they're outside of the Celtics. They're not playing like powerhouse teams. And it's like a lot of these games like aren't even close, right? Again, we just looked at it. They lost by 20 to Boston. And then they lost by double digits to like Detroit. And that was at home too. It's not even like a lot of these games are like coming down to the wire too. So it's like, I just don't believe in this team. I believed in past teams even more, and they haven't really shown much. Like, I don't see them getting out of the East, right? You got the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavs, some tough teams up at the top of the East.
Yeah. I mean, the big part is they show no fight, right? They show no fight. They don't know how to come back from adversity, which is a big part of team sports, as everyone knows. And for the Sixers, just to be so disappointing and hang with those teams that are, like you said, actively tanking.
Yeah, I mean, they'd be the 3rd worst team in the West.
Right. I mean, go check the payroll.
Looks bad in the East, but like they would be.
Right.
What is this? Excuse me. They'd be like 8 games back.
Right.
Of the play-in in the West.
Right.
I mean, like, the East making a lot closer than it is.
Yeah, I mean, go check the payrolls of the teams below us, or honestly, even above us. Go check the payrolls of the Hawks, right, and the Bulls. I mean, just go look and go see the difference that it makes. And we have guys that are making 3 guys that are making max money, max. It's unheard of to be what our record is. It is a major issue. Yes, mainly because they were banged up and they're injured. And yes, they've shrunk some games long. And we've seen it though. Yes, the big 3's been on the court for 14 games this season together. Out of those 14, Joel Embiid is probably 60%, 50%. Max is truly the only one that's actually healthy out there. PG is out with old age usually and injured, so it's kind of a mix of both. It's just been a tough season. It's almost a wash, but the standings are just disappointing to look at. And that's kind of when you go through the season, you're like, hey, they play tonight. The mindset's been like, nice, they play, cool. Whatever happens, happens. They win a few
it's
games.
Kind of like the process years,
right?
It's
like,
kind of, at least with that, you had hope for the future.
It's hard to get excited if the team strings along 4 wins. Then you're like, all right, maybe there's something here. But that's happened maybe once this season. I don't even know if it has. Maybe 3 wins in a row. I forget what the highest was, but it's been tough to come by.
Yeah, we can take a quick look here at their stats for the season here.
Yeah, let's see what we got going. Shocker. Points per game, the leader, Tyrese Maxey. I mean, that's a total shock because he carries the team. 27.3 per game. I think what we have Kelly at was that rebound 6.4. Yeah, I mean, he's dominated. Maxey in the assists.
Yeah, even Embiid, he's used to usually 30 points a game, right?
Yeah.
That's dropped off. Maxey's certainly stepped up because he's been the guy.
Yep.
Paul George, 16. I mean, that's like Tobias numbers, right?
Yeah, no, it's been a major struggle. I mean, seriously, just once again the inconsistency of the points, but the points per game for those guys, man. I mean, just to have Tyrese Maxey basically carry it at 27, which last year the high man was 34 points per game. That's a big drop off. You're talking 7 points per game less as your high score. That plays a huge role. And then defensively, it's been a major issue all season long. I mean, even the highest rebounder on the season is 6.4. Really? You can't get to double digits or even at least 9.
Yeah, well, B's got 8. Yeah,
and B's got 8. But okay, so yeah, excuse me there. But still, I mean, sample size wise, we know he doesn't play a ton. It's just been an issue. Their backup center Drummond's looked like a total wash. You can point to all different guys, but the stats are just significantly down, man. They're just down. You lost Jared McCain, who was, outside of Yabusele, your big bright spot. It's been tough sledding. You can look at the stats all day. The shooting percentages, everything is just down across the board.
It is certainly ugly. And wanted to talk a little bit too about potential shutting down Embiid and PG this year. This isn't like breaking news by any means.
Yeah.
But still want to hit upon it again. We haven't made a video in a little bit here. But did come out recently about Joel Embiid potentially needing surgery. And this is from Lisa Salters. I'll play this video again. This is from the Sixers and Bucks game. Listen in here.
Like I asked Joel Embiid how that left knee feels, and he gave a really
Embiid's
long
complaining.
pause. It is what it is. He said to still be talking about it and dealing with it almost a full year after when the injury first occurred. He said it's been frustrating and the most difficult thing he's ever had to go through in his career. He said he wishes he could play in every game, but his body just isn't allowing him to do that right now, that when the knee swells up, there's nothing he can really do about it. Sixers GM Daryl Morey this week said the organization is hopeful that there will come a time that the knee isn't an issue anymore, and Embiid said he believes that will be the case, but he said he thinks it will likely take another surgery and a long recovery period, something he didn't have after the initial injury last February. Like I asked.
Yeah, I mean that's concerning. I mean, the main issue or the main reaction to that is, exactly what she said. This season, I think in most Sixers fans' eyes, is a total wash. They're not winning anything. Even if they make the play-in, if they get out of the play-in, you're probably going to get smacked in the first round. Just the way that they've played and how the theme has been the entire season. There's no heart. There's no effort. Why even risk him? The logical thing would to be shut him down, get the surgery, start recovery February 22nd, tomorrow, whatever it is. Like, just go for it. There's no reason to be practicing and screwing around so you can win, 25, 30 games max, maybe, and be intensity. Yeah. It's just not worth it. You're not beating the Celtics. You're just not. We saw them play the reigning NBA champs last night. They got smacked at home. And with majority, their big threes playing, most of the guys were healthy. There's a few bench players injured, but they're not beating them in a 7-game series. They're just not. So why risk it? Get the surgery.
Yeah, Luke Cornett dropping, dunking on it.
Right. I mean, but if you can't beat them and, they're one of the best teams in the NBA, you're not going to beat anyone. You're just not. You're not going to get past it. You're just not. So it's tough. But
yeah, no, I mean, it's, you're looking, February 21st, right now, you're looking at about 8 months, right, to the start of next season. It's just unfortunate because that kind of, I feel like, was their plan from the beginning, was to, hey, let's see how much we can get away with not playing Embiid this year in the regular season and get him in the playoffs, right? That was like the overall plan of this team. And I was for it, just because how many times has he limped into the playoffs, right? He's won his MVP and he's had many seasons as a scoring champion, all that kind of stuff. But then he gets to the playoffs, and he's gassed, right? And it's just too much pressure on his joints and his legs and all that kind of stuff. You're not seeing the same kind of guy come playoff time. So I was fully for them, trying to rest him, no back-to-backs, all that kind of stuff. Let's not push it. But they quickly found out that they can't get away with that. Now they kind of rushed him back, and it's just been that kind of cat and mouse game from that point of playing a little bit and then not playing, playing him, not playing, all that kind of stuff. And then even when he has played, as we showed, hasn't resulted in like automatic wins. It's like even when you do play him, it's not like, okay, they're guaranteed to win this game. He's a great player, but fortunately, you can't just guarantee a win there. And I feel like it's just kind of too late at this point. And you've seen them at their full strength, and it's still not enough. So what makes you think they're going to win 4 playoff series against some of the best teams in the NBA? Right.
And it's not like we're losing, but Embiid's putting up phenomenal numbers. That'd be a different thing. Oh my God, he's averaging 35 points a game and he's shooting efficiently, but they can't win, which they probably don't.
He's played fine, but nothing spectacular.
He's been special. I mean, we know what Joel Embiid can be. Yeah. He's playing like a role player out there, a borderline all-star. He's better than that. We all know that. And he's not playing like himself.
Yeah, and then you got on the other side of the coin, you got Paul George. This is from Oh No He Didn't on
no Twitter. He didn't.
This was Sean didn't tweet this out, but this is when he was on ESPN reporting this on Paul George. Again, not breaking news, but still news nonetheless.
For Paul George with a hyperextension and a bone bruise, a really nasty looking injury at the time. And it's really been an uphill battle for him since that point. He's had multiple different little nagging injuries that have come up. Most recently, he's had tendon damage in his left pinky that he's been fighting. Ouch. He's been doing everything that he can to be on the court, though, and to try to be available. I'm told it's to the point where he has gotten injections to play and compete over the last 4 or 5 games. Now, that's something that players do come playoff time, not necessarily in the regular season. So clearly, we know the Paul George over the last several years. Last season, he was healthy, played the majority of the season. We can tell he's not 100%. So credit to him for trying to tough it out in what's been a trying season for the 76ers. But clearly, there's something that's been amiss with him, with his body, and we're seeing that play out. The Sixers, there's going to be a point in time here, Malika, where second half of the season, definitely in the offseason, they're going to have some hard conversations.
Brian Windhorst dying to chime in.
No, definitely true. I kind of ended that like some tough conversations, right? Like this is, it's not just Embiid. It's Paul George, who is getting up there in age. He's been on the team for 10 years. Now he's getting up to age. They signed him, at that age. But again, you look at his previous seasons, he's still dropping, 20 plus points per game, shooting well from 3, all that kind of stuff. This is again his worst year in many, many years in his career. So you're just getting bad product up and down the line. As you said, he's getting injections for regular season games, so he's not fully healthy himself. So you look into the future, April, May, all that kind of stuff, playoff time. It's like you're not gonna get fully healthy Embiid. You're not gonna get full healthy Paul George. You're not gonna get much. You're not gonna get much there. Yeah. So that's why. So you would say you'd want to shut him down tomorrow?
I would shut Embiid down right now. Then I would call him up and say, Embiid, you're done. If I'm Daryl Morey, it's over. Shut it down.
Call, text, email,
PG, WhatsApp, send him a kick. I don't care. Whatever it is. PG, I would, if he wants to play, good for him. Him and his wife can watch courtside, whatever. I probably can't do it. But like PG can play. PG, I don't really care. Embiid is the main draw. We all know this team goes as far as Embiid will take us, right? Yep. If he's on the court and he's 100%, he is the best player. I can say that confidently, and because he has been, he's won an MVP. Can't take that away from him. He's the best player in the NBA. He's one of the best players. You could argue that any day of the week when healthy. The problem is this motherfucker's never healthy. And then when it comes to Paul George, PG. All right, if he needs some knee injections, whatever. All right, we're done with the segment. Shut him down. Shut him down.
No,
as Tapper once said, shut it down.
Yeah, they're walking that fine line. It's the Chicago Bulls line where they're slightly under, but they don't want to fully tank. The big thing is they got the top 6 protected pick. We'll go into it here now. I know we've talked about it in previous videos before, showing kind of the lottery odds because it is not the easiest thing to remember all these different numbers and everything like that. It's not as easy as, hey, I'm the worst team. I get the first pick. You get the lottery.
Football
to deal with, which I guess you can thank the Sixers for that one here. So they currently do, again, sit at 6 ahead of Brooklyn, even though they're technically like ahead in the standings. On on that one here. So you see the breakdown. This is all the picks, right? This is where they currently sit, and then this is what pick they would get for that. As we talked about before, if they want to get a top 6 per pick, guaranteed, they have to be one of the 2 worst teams, right? New Orleans and Washington right now cannot get anything past 6. So they would keep their pick if they got that. They're not catching them. Washington's got like 9 wins. What are the Pelicans at? Pelicans are at 13 wins right now. So
Jazz
they're
also 13.
yeah, their Jazz are at 13 too. So they're 7 games ahead right now of both those teams. So that's probably not happening, right? These are teams that are like very much actively tanking and want to keep those picks. This is a very good draft, right? You get a top pick like that, you're going to get a top player there. So you look at the Sixers right now. If you tally up all these in the top 6, they can't get the 5th pick. They have a 43.4% chance of getting the top 6 pick. So as it stands right now, there's a better chance they do not keep their pick than they do keep the pick. They have a 56.6, whatever that turns out to be, percent chance. Their highest picks. Yeah, see how it turns to OKC here. 30.7% chance of 7, 21.7 of 8. And you better know too that Adam Silver and the NBA do not want the Sixers keeping that pick because they hate the Sixers.
Yeah.
So you want to get yourself up here as quick, as high as quick as possible. Then you get to Toronto. Okay, now you're looking at over a 40% chance of getting a top 4 pick. You also got a 19.6. You're looking at around a 60% chance of getting a pick, just moving up that one.
You got to jump.
So you really got to jump Toronto. I believe Toronto
Let's see what they're at.
is right up. Yeah, 3 games.
It's not bad.
3 game difference.
We can do that.
But that's what every game counts. Again, all these teams are actively tanking, and they're just bad overall. Sixers actually have a
and
good
so are
roster.
the Nets too, who are technically above.
Right. So there's kind of no room for error. If you want to tank, you got to tank. But I mean, coming out of the break, they had their full lineup out there. So I think at the end of the day, it comes down to ownership. Josh Harris, all of them, what they want to do. They've footed the bill. There's a lot of money that's going to this roster, right? They're just under the luxury tax and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like they're probably not going to tank unless something over the next 10 games really comes in. Because I would, in my opinion, if they were going to tank, they probably would have done that coming out of the All-Star break, right? Why go in the All-Star break, come back out? You're not going to then sit your guys in a game or 2 or something like that. But it is kind of you're close. You cannot win many more games,
right?
If you want to get a good chance, because they don't want to fall to 7 or 8 because that just keeps going down from there. They already have less than a 50% chance of keeping their pick as it is. So you want to pass Toronto, Charlotte, some of these other teams that may be a little bit more doable than the top 2.
Right. I think from the fan perspective, we just kind of know it's a wash season. I think, of course, even management probably deep down knows that, right? Daryl Morey is not stupid. He watches the same game we watch. He understands this team has underperformed from tip-off game 1 to now. They've been atrocious throughout, even their quality wins. They've been just disappointing. I think from a management perspective, ticket sales and viewership, and probably the NBA and Adam Silver in the Sixers ear, hey, play your stars because we don't want, no offense to Jared Butler and, Quick Grimes, but they probably should be starting every game.
Yeah,
and that should be starting 5.
The amount of investigations that the NBA have done against the Sixers,
right?
And, potential to lose picks.
The thing is, if they're able to play, they're going to want their guys out there from a viewership standpoint, from ticket sales, you name it, just business. That's good business. Put the best product on the court. So I understand that, and for management, that's probably their thought process: is how do we generate the most revenue? Well, don't play your guys that no one knows, right? That's the biggest draw there. Now, long term,
David Roddy,
right? David Roddy's playing, which
Alex Reese.
But long-term view, sure, have your guys. I would tank. I would pull out Joel. I'd pull out, Paul George. If Maxey wants to play, let him run around and do his thing and drop 30 a night and still lose by 15. That's fine with me. Get his cardio and he'll be in great shape for next season. And that's all, man. But this team has just been disappointing. And I think overall moral of the story is this season is most likely cooked. But no one's shocked.
Yeah, no, I mean, the state of the Sixers right now, not looking very good here. That's what I wanted to go through this video here. As always, hit that like, subscribe button below. Appreciate all the support. Giving away $25 again for every 100 subs, closing in on 500. Cool little milestone there. We'll give away another $25 once we hit that. We also have a private Instagram chat room. I have almost 250 people in there, different subs. You have to be a sub to be in that chat. A lot of good conversation happens in there. Always a good fun time. A lot of it's been, just on the Sixers just because of what's going on right now. A lot of shit talk right now. Actually, we'll end this video actually showing our Instagram picture that we posted after during last night's game. Yeah, rip the Sixers. A lot of comments coming into top pick incoming. Hopefully for the Sixers there. But appreciate all of your support. We always say, like, thanks for watching. Go Sixers and Birds.
Go Birds, baby.
I
Hey,
guess we haven't done a video since they won it all. So, hey, we got that to go for.
big as the what? Yeah.
Exactly. So, Sixers gonna need a little more time for that, but at least we can ride the Eagles Super Bowl win for a few more years here while the Sixers figure out how to get that second round.
Yeah.
So, anyway, appreciate you all. Thanks for tuning into this video. Hope everyone has a good weekend, and we'll certainly be coming out more videos as all this unfolds. So, cheers, everyone.
Cheers.